Hello everyone and welcome to episode 10 of the WCW 2000 save here on TEW 9. We are in the post-Super Brawl era of the company now. We are building towards Uncensored in a month's time. We've got Nitro and then Thunder as always today, and hopefully we can have some answers about what happened on Super Brawl. So if you weren't watching a couple of days episode, the previous one, Super Bowl looked like so. We had Randy Savage no-show the show because he was in Japan. So that was great. That really threw our title picture out the window. So we had Sting defeat Kevin Nash and Scott Hall in a throwaway three-way match. Hogan beat DDP in the main event. And the theme of today's Nitro is going to be solely focused around Hogan and Savage, because we're going to have to try and explain what happened. And we've got some other stuff lined up as well, but that's going to be the crux of it. I've got most of it booked. I'm just going to go spend a few minutes and I've finished booking the show, and we'll come back when ready. But that's basically the gist of it. Not much has happened since you were last with us. The absences are still the same. We are close to getting Brian Clark back. But other than that, we've not really... And Laparca's broken tailbone, but we're not really using Laparca that much. We still have about a month or so of people's contracts before we can start to hopefully stop hemorrhaging money. And as you can see, our backstage is still abysmal. But hopefully we're going to start clawing that back. Now, some things I've done to save some money. We spoke about, I believe, me selling the power plant. That's obviously happened. I've also stopped drug testing because that was like 20 grand a show sometimes, and I mean, just let the guys take the drugs, whatever. At this point, who cares? Who cares? The backstage is terrible anyway, so if we can stop them failing drugs tests, then that'll help as well. Nothing else I don't think to cover here. I believe we're just going to go straight into Nitro. But one thing I did want to discuss initially, I might put a community post up about this. I am tempted to start a side series to this, a local to global type save. You know, the road to glory, local to global, tiny to Titanic, or whatever the hell. What was it used to be called again? I can't remember what it used to be called before they changed the names or the sizes. But I'm looking to do one. I've got an idea. Not to copy Anders too much, the 1992 database, which is probably the best database ever made for TEW, I'm simming it 5 years in the future. And we're going to start in 1997 with a new company. We're going to generate a company. I've got an idea for a company to be based in Scotland, in my home country, to make it a bit more of a challenge, having, restrictions on who will want to come over and work in the UK. And yeah, let me know what you think. I'll put a community post up about it over some point. I'm tempted to maybe record the first episode tomorrow and get that uploading on alternate days compared to this one. But anyway, back in a moment, enough waffling. I'll see you for Nitro. It's time for Nitro. We're hopefully going to have some answers to some questions about what happened at Super Bowl, and the show starts with Hulk Hogan marching to the ring to kick off the show. And while he would love to celebrate his win over DDP, there are more pressing matters to address regarding last night. Hogan says Savage really messed up their grand plans and wants to hear his excuse as to why he no-showed his match with Sting. Because obviously the plan was Savage was going to win the title to kickstart the death of WCW and all that stuff. So Savage does come out, he's actually here tonight, and he tries to explain the situation. Something came up and he was busy. He didn't feel like it, etc, etc. Hogan says that's not good enough. They have decided to work together for a common goal, and if Savage can't respect that and he can't respect the fellow men in the ring, tonight Savage must prove his worth or he's out, and if you're out, you're the number one target. And then Savage leaves before any fun business can happen. Big questions: who's Savage facing tonight? What is the challenge? Will he prove his worth? All that fun stuff. It gets a 66 overall, which is pretty good. Hogan getting penalised, but hopefully the personal issues will go away soon. We then cut to everybody's favourite, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And he's with Mean Gene, and he says he again feels like he's let the company down. He apologises to Sid and Vampiro, says those guys didn't have to help him out last night, but they did, and it means a whole lot. He's about to walk away, he's very sad, crestfallen, and Norman Smiley appears and says, Hacksaw, you can be proud of yourself. He stood up for WCW, he stood up for himself. That's what matters, and that matters more than wins and losses. He has pride in himself, and Smiley just appreciates Hacksaw. Smiley himself knows he's lost the hardcore title last night, but in a way it's a blessing, because the lights aren't going off anymore, the chairs aren't around anymore, and there's a bit of clarity coming to Norman Smiley now, rather than running around scared from this nonsense with the hardcore title. Hacksaw acknowledges it, shakes his hand and says, I like you, good luck tonight, before leaving. 33 isn't great, it simmers the crowd down a little bit, which isn't ideal, but there's a plan in place here, which we'll come to shortly enough. Kanyon then makes his way to the ring. He's flanked by the Harris brothers, who aided him last night in his match against Hennig. Kanyon celebrates his incredible victory all by himself and says he has enlisted Ron and Don to be his private security, as when you're the top dog, you need people to keep the trash away. So he's ready for his match, gets a 47 overall, and his challenge is Norman Smiley tonight, and Chris Kanyon does defeat Norman Smiley in 8 minutes, following interference from the Harris brothers. Kanyon makes defense number 8 of the TV title. Good match, 54. We're wanting to move Smiley away from the hardcore thing now, because I really like Norman Smiley, and he's got the groundswell of public support, he's got a hot new move, so does Kanyon. So we've got a plan, but Kanyon does get the win, and post-match, Kanyon and the Harris twins decide to attack Smiley, but Hacksaw Jim Duggan comes down to the ring to make the save of just a 2x4 and chases them away and helps Smiley get to his feet. 37 isn't great because Hacksaw just isn't very good, but I am enjoying booking Hacksaw Jim Duggan. I didn't think I would be saying these words out loud for a 2000 WCW save, but I'm enjoying it. It's like I made this stupid mistake, and now there's this fun element to booking Hacksaw. He's this elder statesman down on his luck. He's now teaming with another sort of down on his luck lovable loser in Norman Smiley. And yeah, spoiler alert, these two teams are going to face each other on Thunder, and Kanyon, this isn't done. This will go on for a couple of weeks. We then have the Revolution coming down to the ring, and now I guess a 37, which is actually really disappointing because part of the reason we did the whole Booker T thing was to get the ratings up, but oh well. They come down to the ring ahead of a scheduled tag title defense against the NWO tonight, and Booker T introduces himself as a member of the group and says last night he did what had to be done and what any loving brother would do for another. Obviously, he turned on Stevie Ray to join the Revolution to end Harlem Heat last night. He speaks of Saturn and Malenko, their ideals, their standards for what a pro wrestler can be, and he saw the light. Tonight, they're going to take on the NWO, they're going to win, and really kickstart their revolution here in WCW. But before they can go any further, Chris Benoit and Dustin Rhodes come to the ramp, and Benoit lays into his former stablemates, just basically saying, asking if that's really the way you want to go about business. Booker says it is, and Benoit just has to deal with it and get out of the way. Dustin then just hammers home right at the end. You guys are a far cry from the men that we teamed with recently, as Benoit and Dustin make their way to the back. Decent little promo. I'm hoping that we can build the Revolution into something pretty solid here, and Booker T being like the mouthpiece and the sort of de facto leader of the group, I think is pretty good. Their match with the NWO, or the Outsiders, does have no finish, because Booker T, Jeff Jarrett and Scott Steiner all became involved, so the match just got thrown out. 52 is fine. It's not an amazing rating, but this is a storyline advancing match rather than a quality match. But good performance by basically everyone, and the match just descends into chaos. And after that, Nash grabs the mic and says, "Had up to here with this place. The Revolution, whatever the hell's going on with Hogan, Benoit and Dustin, they're fed up and they want to end this nonsense once and for all. This needs to be settled." I've written once and for all again. And eventually the NWO will be on top, and these guys need to watch their step. Good promo, 59 overall from the NWO. there's an overarching plan here, and essentially Nash and Hall would kick off if we told them to lose to the Revolution, so we had to do the bullshit finish. I think it was the right call. Hopefully. It's kept everyone happy though. We're then backstage and Mean Gene's with Benoit and Dustin. He asks what happened with the Revolution earlier on tonight. And Benoit says he said what had to be said, and if those guys want a fight, they can get one. Dustin agrees. But in the meantime, how about they get some sparring practice in and Benoit puts that US title on the line on Thunder. Benoit accepts and says, "It's been an honour," and shakes Dustin's hand. So we're going to do Dustin versus Benoit on Thunder for the US title. There's reasons for that. I mean, we've not been shy about Dustin really wanting the US title reign, essentially. And maybe he's taking advantage of a friend. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's just wanting an honest sparring challenge. We shall see. A 41 overall. We then have a 31 overall as Berlin comes to the ring with the wall. It says that last night he proved he's the best cruiserweight in the world. He doesn't know nor care who his opponent tonight is, but says after decisively beating the Filthy Animals, he's riding on a high. And a 54 is actually pretty good. He defeats Silver King after the wall makes the distraction and hits the German suplex. Berlin makes defense number 9 of the cruiserweight title. I'm in a bit of flux with Berlin now. If anybody's got any potential ideas, then let me know, obviously. But we're not going to pivot to Ray and Kidman just yet. Again, we're going to have that little simmer for a little while. And Berlin doing good business. Really enjoying Berlin. We then get 60, as the crowd is now hot and rising. Sting comes down to the ring and wants to talk about everything going on. He says he wants to move on from Randy Savage. The man's a coward and best forgotten. He thanks Nash and Hall for stepping up to fight and says that despite their histories together, it was fun to beat them up one more time. He turns his attention to Hogan, Piper, Package and Flair. He has history with 3 of the 4 men, but doesn't have much history with Roddy Piper, so he calls out Piper to come to the ring so they can have some. Obviously Sting and Flair, Sting and Luger, and Sting and Hogan's all legendary stuff with Sting. Sting and Piper not really crossed paths too often. And the match gets a 66, which is pretty solid. A white hot crowd as well. Sting wins with the Scorpion Deathlock because, obviously, and the other guys in that group have got way too much going on. Piper just comes down to the ring angry and they have a fight. We then have a throwaway tag match as the Filthy Animals beat the Varsity Club. This is just to get the Filthy Animals a win. Obviously, with losing at the pay-per-view to Berlin, they're now just keep getting built up. Ray and Kidman, very important parts of the future. Ray in particular, very important part of the future. Best guy in the match by distance as well. But good stuff. I mean, Rotunda and Rick, we don't have any plans for these two guys, but they're good enough to be kind of like just brought in to do the job every so often. We then have another decent promo actually, 61. DDP's with Mean Gene, who asks what's next for DDP after the crushing disappointment of last night. DDP says that no doubt last night was awful, we talked a big game, and he didn't deliver. The only positive is that Hogan and Savage are already falling apart, and DDP will hopefully be there to pick up the pieces. But before he can go any further, he's interrupted by Jarrett of all people. And Jarrett quickly says, he's not here to start anything. Like, don't worry DDP, I'm not here to fight. He just wants DDP to know if he needs buddies, there's always a place he can call home. Nice harking back to back in the day, obviously, of the NWO courting DDP to be a member of their group. We then have our main event build-up, where Hogan is alone in the ring and he calls down Randy Savage once again. They go back and forth, going into their own histories over the years, accusing each other of jealousy, greed, all the usual nonsense that these two would go on about. And Hogan says, but tonight is simple, Randy. If you win your match, all will be forgiven. If you lose, you're out. And Savage accepts and says, bring on whoever you got. When suddenly, Ric Flair, the Total Package, and Roddy Piper, who's holding his ribs, come down to the ring. Gets a 64. And in our main event match, we get a 61. As Ric Flair, the Total Package, and Roddy Piper defeat Randy Savage in a handicap match in 8 minutes when Ric Flair submits Randy Savage with a figure 4 leg lock after interference from Hulk Hogan. So we can imagine Hogan just getting involved, distracting Savage. The whole plan all along was to kick Randy Savage out tonight. There was no winning, you're in. It was you're out, brother. You know, you're out. And they beat him up. It's a good match, 61 overall. And in our main event segment, it does drop down to get a 50, which is a bit disappointing. But I suppose we did have it on like attack and victims and things. But after losing, Savage is down in the ring. Hogan comes in with the weight belt and starts destroying the back of the Macho Man. But before it can go any further, the NWO music hits. And they start making their way to the ring as Hogan and company scamper. Before we can see what happens next, the show conveniently fades to black. The classic, we're out of time, folks, as the NWO approach the ring with a prone Savage in the middle. It gets a 50 overall. The show gets a 63, which isn't bad. Again, we are going to be dropping popularity in places, which is fine. We've made a bit of money, which is good. Yeah, the pop's going to go down in a few places, but if we can keep it hovering around that 62, 63 range, we'll be pretty good. Mexico's went up, and Europe's gone up as well. Puerto Rico went up a point, so that's always good. And yeah, I'm pretty happy with that show. I mean, we've ended it deliberately vague with the NWO coming down because effectively I want everything to kind of coexist and mingle. We don't just want story to be separate. We want them all to sort of intertwine and make this bigger picture for the company. And I think that's a pretty good ending to the show. I mean, there's an idea in my head for Uncensored, but I don't know if I'm going to go ahead with it yet. But I might build towards that way and see how it's looking. But before we go into Thunder, let's have a look. So Shane Douglas is causing problems over in the WWF, which, good man Shane. Appreciated. Nitro, underwhelming, but I thought it was a good show. Vito's now a regular wrestler, which is nice. And the show got 3 million viewers, which is what it is. Not bad. Not bad at all. We've got Thunder tonight. That'll air obviously in a couple days. And I think we're just going to get right to that. And we kick off Thunder with a really hot 72 rated segment as Randy Savage storms to the ring and demands Hogan make an appearance. Hogan no shows because Hogan doesn't work Thunder. And he then demands any of the other cronies to come to the ring, but again, nobody does. Instead, Kevin Nash makes his way down to the ring alone without his NWO stablemates. Nash says he respects Randy, they go way back with each other. Nash has always considered him a friend. He didn't really want to get involved with the drama that's enveloping with the NWO and with Hogan and Cole and Savage, but he just couldn't stand by and watch a friend get beat down that way. Savage says they're not friends. Nash isn't Hogan. He doesn't want anything to do with him. He doesn't want any business with the NWO, and he leaves, giving him the cold shoulder. A really strong segment overall. 72 to kick off the show. Don't worry, we will, I'm sure, bring that down pretty quickly. Good lord, have we brought that down pretty quickly. At 26, as Crowbar, Flair and Daphne come down to the ring and call out Sabu. They claim he interfered in their quest to win the hardcore title, and tonight Crowbar brings back the title where it belongs. And they get a 46 overall as Sabu makes his first defence of the WCW hardcore title by defeating Crowbar in 7 minutes. Simple enough, really. I thought this would be better, to be honest. Crowbar was off his game, which didn't help. Oh well. We then have the people's new favourite duo, the dynamic duo really, as Norman Smiley and Hacksaw are backstage getting ready for their match. Smiley thanks Hacksaw for coming down last week's should have been said on Monday, and Hacksaw says anything for a buddy. Now let's go beat those bald idiots up. And they do. Norman Smiley and Hacksaw Jim Duggan defeat the Harris brothers in 5 minutes when Norman Smiley pins Don Harris. I mean, Hacksaw the worst guy in the match, but only by 2 points. So I was really hoping it was going to say Norman and Hacksaw had like amazing chemistry as a team, but alas they don't. But this isn't over. They get the win over the Harris brothers. Canyon is somewhere absolutely raging with this development. We then have a backstage interview, and Mean Gene is with Stevie Ray, and he asks what are his thoughts on the events from Super Brawl. Stevie Ray says he hasn't slept. He can't believe what Booker did to him. He tells Booker to watch his back. He doesn't want to lay a hand on his brother, but if he feels like they're going to have to settle this in the ring, and he challenges him to a match at Uncensored. A 36 overall. It has killed the crowd a little bit, but hopefully we can build a nice little fun thing. We then get a 38 as once again Sid is just making it impossible to book him. He destroys Reno. Essentially, Reno off his game, no selling, and Sid phoned in his performance. Wonderful. At least the promo was decent, a 40. Sid says what happened at the pay-per-view was just him wanting a fight, and he says that he would have won if not for his weak teammates. He says that Monday he wants to right a few wrongs and demands Vampiro come down to the ring and have a match with him, because he knows Hacksaw sucks, but Vampiro, he says, has let himself down quite a lot. I need to figure out what to do with Sid, because I want to push Sid, but I can't risk Sid and his unprofessionalism. I don't know if I should just job him out. Let me know what you guys think I should maybe do. I'm leaning towards we start transitioning away from Sid and we start giving guys wins over him. He will quit, is the only downside. We then have Mean Gene with Kurt Hennig backstage, who talks about the disappointment of Sunday night. Hennig says, what happens in this business, he can move on pretty quickly. He's lost before, he'll probably lose again. He continues on before he gets jumped from behind. The camera pans back to reveal the Cat, of all people. The Cat puts the boots to him and tells Mean Gene he's sick and tired of being disrespected for his has-beens, and tells Kurt when he wakes up to come meet him in the ring. And they get a 44 overall as the Cat defeats Kurt Hennig in under 5 minutes. Obviously, Kurt is a little bit dazed from the beatdown, but it's following interference from Sonny Siaki, of all people. And this, I'm not going to go into more of this now, but this will become clearer as the next week or so goes on. I have an idea. The Cat's really good at promos, so we're going to use the Cat to elevate some of the younger talent, but that'll become clearer. We then have Reliable, but it's only 47 this time, as Sting's backstage and puts out another challenge for Nitro. He goes way back with Package and says it's sad that he's fallen so low to becoming Hogan's bag carrier. Once he's dropped off the bags to the locker room on Monday, if he wants to come down for a fight, then Sting will be waiting. We're going to do Sting versus Package on Nitro, because we need to keep Sting involved in this entire picture, but he's without him becoming like the backdrop to the whole thing. We have a really good match. I think this is our semi-main event, as Chris Benoit does defeat Dustin Rhodes with the diving headbutt, and he makes defense number 7 of the US title. Good match. Benoit looking really good in particular. But after the match, they are rushed down. The Revolution rushed down to the ring and beat down Benoit, beat down Dustin, signalling the end of any alliance they once had. But Stevie Ray rushes down to chase them off, and Booker T bails at the first opportunity that he can and runs away, setting up that, Uncensored is a pay-per-view of gimmicks and matches and no rules. Maybe Booker T can't run away. Hint, hint. Hint. Yeah. Anyway, we then go on to our main event match, which only gets a 57. As I just realised I shouldn't have booked it this way. That's my mistake. I should have had Booker come back to the ring in a different segment. But anyway, Booker comes back to the ring, and DDP beats him in 8 minutes with the Diamond Cutter after a distraction from Jeff Jarrett, of all people. So Jeff Jarrett comes down, distracts Booker T. So Stevie Ray's obviously been taken away by security or something, and Jeff Jarrett distracts Booker T. Interesting. It's not. The crowd hated it. A 62. I mean, it's in line with Thunder. I have changed the product setting to main event focus at the a suggestion of someone in the comments to see if that improved anything. It's about the same, but this is a pretty weak main event, admittedly. 62 lost popularity, we've actually lost money on the show, which is less than ideal, and this is all still going down. However, we're now getting down to the range where we shouldn't be dropping popularity that often, hopefully. But it is what it is. It's Thunder. It's a B show, but we have the A guys on it. At this rate, it does good enough ratings for TV. It's in no danger of being cancelled. It gets guys exposure. When everything starts to even out, Thunder will hopefully become a lot more better of a show. Kevin Nash hates Perry Saturn. Dustin and Benoit are feeling the effects of a grueling schedule. But yeah, I mean, a 63 and a 62. Like last week it was a 62 and a 60. So Thunder's pretty consistent. I mean, it started off pretty rough, but we're bringing Thunder up. And Nitro's levelling out, which is good. We are in debt. That's only going to get worse for the time being. I've been pulling ribs on Kevin Sullivan and calling him out in pre-show to see if I can get him to just quit. He's still not quit yet. I had him lose to, I think it was Silver King on one of the B shows and had it set for burial and everything, but he didn't take the bait on it. But that's going to do it for today's episodes, guys. Thanks so much for watching. The support again has been phenomenal on this entire series. I'm enjoying making the videos. You guys seem to be enjoying watching them, and the feedback's been really good. We're building towards Uncensored. We may have already given away one match that's going to happen. And yeah, the NWO, Hogan, Sting, Revolution, everything is a big old drama. Because if the backstage is going to be a drama, the stuff on television might be as well. But it's going to do it for today's episode. Again, let me know what you think about potential local to global type save if you'd like to see something like that. I will maybe start getting the wheels on that happening. The video might have already come out before this episode comes out, to be honest. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. See you guys in a few days' time for the next episode of Nitro and Thunder. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.